Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Brick Roll. Alright, it's day after the move-in now, and today is the day where I got to do some unpacking and some organizing. As you saw from the video yesterday, there is literally stuff all over the house. Now I just finished up doing about the third day of the water cleansing and the clarification, and I gotta say it is looking a lot better. I can actually see the bottom of the pool now, so we're going to continue on this cycle for the next few days at least. Now that I live here at the house, that won't be a problem to come out here in the morning even when I'm going to work and do that little task. But yeah, we are definitely seeing some improvement now, so it's good to see that. We're just going to keep it up, and this pool is looking good again. Now, one of the first priorities for me when I moved in here was kind of getting the main computer hooked up. So I got that connected last night, and found out that for some reason the monitor isn't working at this point. It comes on, but it isn't syncing to the computer. So I got to figure out what's going on, and since that's one of the top priorities, I think that's going to be the first thing we're going to deal with today. So I just noticed that the next door neighbors had their landscapers out doing the lawn. I've been figuring, one of the first things I got to do here is get the lawn mowed, because it's been several weeks since that's happened, and this isn't like California where several weeks of missing lawnmower and you start having like grass going up to your knees. So since it's going to be another week or two at least before I get the garage unpacked enough to the point where I would be able to mow the lawn, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just ask them to mow it once for me. And I talked to them, they said $30 to do it. So you know what, let's do it, let's get that out of the way. So that's going to happen today also. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do while I'm trying to figure out why the monitor doesn't work is I got to troubleshoot where the problem is. And so what you want to do when you're troubleshooting is try and isolate which component is that's the problem. Is it the monitor? Is it the computer? Is it the cable between? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to verify that it isn't the computer by plugging the monitor into a DVD player. That way, if it comes on, then I know that there's something in the computer problem. If it doesn't come on, then I know it's either the cable or the monitor. So let's start with that. It's so cool that these days so many of the devices have common interfaces now that I could actually just plug the computer monitor into a DVD player and have it work. Used to be there'd be different kinds of connections on that, and be no way you could do what you're going to do. The only option you'd have would be to plug it into another computer or something like that. So it's really convenient that everything is consolidating like that. Alright, so I have the same problem with the DVD player that I do with the computer. There's just no signal getting through. So whatever it is, it's probably the cable. It might be the monitor. I hope it's not the monitor, because it's easier to buy a new cable than it is to buy a new monitor. Alright, we are in business. Turns out it was just a bad HDMI cable. So apparently I have a few bad HDMI cables, so I think I'm going to have to just get rid of all of those and get new ones. Yeah, sometimes these happen. These HDMI cables, they process a lot of data, and tiniest little thing goes wrong with them and they just don't work. So you know what, that happens. So main computer's going though, that's important. Gonna check, make sure we have internet and all that stuff on it, and then we'll move on to the next task. So I got all my tech working, computer's working 100%. One of the hard drives initially didn't come online, but when I did some research on that, just turned out it wasn't plugged in, so that happens. I got the media center computer hooked up now to the TV, which is good. And I found out I have two bad HDMI cables, so we're just not going to use those anymore. On to the next project. So the first thing I want to do is put this headboard back together. Like I said, it comes in two pieces, but it has electronics in it, so I need to reconnect everything and then put these back pieces on, which basically hold the two halves together. Yeah, this is relatively low tech back here. Basically what I have is just one wire that goes across to the other side and plugs into an extension cord that's there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the whole thing in right now just to make sure it works before we button it up, because if there's something wrong in there, I'd rather find out now while I'm in a position where I can get in there and do something about it. So I went in the back and just plugged the thing in, and there's just a light switch here, and that turns on that light, which is good. And there's this switch here which turns on that light, so that's good. So this serves a couple purposes. If you want to read in bed, you know, it's perfect to do that. It's also, if you're like in a really dark bedroom and you know, you want to be able to turn on the lights so you can see what's around you, boom, you reach above your head and there it is. So I don't know, I think this was kind of a cool thing, and it was an interesting project, and now let's put it back together and start using it again. And we got some nice rain coming down right now. I gotta say, I like that. Good day to spend the day working in the house, right? Alright, so we got that done. I actually had to run over to Home Depot because the screws that attach the bed frame to the headboard had been stripped out. I guess last time I took them off, they got stripped out, and I couldn't get them to relock again. So I just went out and got a couple of new bolts at Home Depot. You know how much I hate going to Home Depot. But that is done. I also put the linen case, whatever you want to call it, at the foot of the bed, and I kind of keep all the stuff for the different beds in the house in there, and that's just kind of a good place. It's also a good seat. So on to the next project. I think I'm going to go out and work in the garage and try and get a little bit organized out there. I think I'll build a couple of shelves and see if I can kind of reduce the inventory on the floor. Alright, so I had a little change of plans here. I actually ended up doing the kitchen first, unpacking the kitchen, because what I noticed is that it was still raining when I wanted to start working on the garage, and I knew part of being in the garage was going to be moving stuff out of the way so I could put the shelves in. So I got the kitchen more or less unpacked. There's a whole bunch of things that are like drink glasses and cocktail glasses and stuff like that that I've never used, and I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to make use of all of this display shelf space up here, and we'll just put that kind of stuff in there. And there's like Christmas dishes and stuff like that, so I just ran that all through the dishwasher, and we're gonna get that all out and packed into those shelves over there. I got all the food unpacked, so we're ready to go there. And yeah, so for the most part I've got the kitchen unpacked now. I still got a few things I got to figure out what I'm gonna do with. But we'll work that out over the next few days and go from there. Now eventually it did stop raining a little bit out here today, this afternoon, so I did actually ultimately get out here and do something. It doesn't look like a whole lot now, but I installed these shelves today and helped consolidate some of the stuff. So I've actually doubled the width of my my walkway here. So we are making progress. I got a lot of stuff on the shelves, you know, tools, Halloween and Christmas stuff, paint stuff, just miscellaneous stuff that I wanted to kind of keep inside here. But we have begun unpacking all this stuff, so making progress on this front too. I got one more of these gray shelves and then a green shelf that I can put up at some point. So at some point we'll probably put the another shelf here, And ultimately, I think what I want to do is I want to put the big long green shelf right here coming out the door. So you come out the door and there'll just be the shelf going out to about here. And then I can put like food and whatever I need on there. And then I'll have my workbench kind of over into that corner over there. So I do, there is kind of a plan and a method to my madness. I know it doesn't look like it yet. This is a huge, huge mess, and we got a few more days to work on this. But we are making progress, and that's what's important. Now, I had an odd little thing happen with the refrigerator today, or actually started last night. About middle of the day yesterday, I began noticing that there was a beeping sound coming from somewhere. I couldn't figure out where it was, and I spent most of the night last night kind of pulling my hair out trying to figure out where it was coming from, and then just for some reason it stopped. Well, this morning it was going again, and I determined this time I was going to figure out where it was coming from. What was happening is there'd be this beeping sound. It would beep, 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 beep 5 times, and then it would wait a second, or wait a minute, and then it would do it again, and then it would wait another minute and do it again. So it was really getting irritating, because you're trying to watch TV or do something, and every minute this thing's beeping. Well, it turned out it was the refrigerator. I was able to trace it down to the refrigerator, and I opened up the door, and there's like a setting in there that apparently if you leave the door open for like 5 minutes or longer, it does this beeping sequence. Well, I don't know what it was, because that door had not been open for 5 minutes, at least not while I've been in this house. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but there was like a button in there that I tried resetting, and I thought maybe that would solve it, but it didn't. And I ultimately ended up just pulling the plug on the refrigerator, just figuring, so many things today have computers in them that sometimes what you just got to do is just reboot the computer. And since there isn't a power down and restart function for the refrigerator, all I did was just pull the plug on it and then turn it back on. Well, when I turned it back on, all of a sudden it wasn't cooling again. And so all of a sudden it was getting into the 40s and the 50s in the refrigerator and in the freezer. The ice in the ice rack was beginning to melt, and I actually called a refrigerator repair person to get him in here to try and figure out what was going on. Well, I didn't get any call back from the refrigerator guys, and I think they just kind of blew me off. But when I came in just a few minutes ago and stuck my head back into the refrigerator just to see what was going on, all of a sudden everything was working again, and the temperatures were down to where they should be, which is, I wanted it 33 degrees for the refrigerator and about -6 degrees in the freezer, just because I want it really cold, and it's hitting that now, and everything's cold again. So I don't know what was happening there. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Might just be some fluky thing. I don't know. But it's just one of the things you run into when you're a homeowner, I guess. So anyway, I think that is all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.